All right. So I'm going to be changing things up a little bit here. I've decided that at the beginning of each of my streams, every one of them, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to take the first 20 to 30 minutes. It could vary depending upon how much gets covered, but I'm going to take that time to do an intro to 3D modeling course. Basically covering anything from modeling in Maya, 3D Studio Max, sculpting in ZBrush, texturing in Photoshop, to the technical side of things like baking a high poly model down to your low poly model, setting up shaders in Unreal, importing models into Unreal, stuff like that. Unity, any sort of thing that sort of involves making models for mostly a focus on video games, but this stuff can be applied for making things for movies as well. So today going to be covering Maya, and I'm using Maya 2015. The tools really aren't that different from 2014 to 15 or 16 or whatever you use. The base tools are pretty much the same, and that's all that matters, because when I say intro course, I mean intro course. If you have used a modeling package before, you'll know a lot of this stuff, because I'm talking about examining the UI and how to make a cube and how to extrude faces, use the cut tool, insert edge loops, things like that. Things that you've probably already heard, or if this sounds like gibberish to you, you'll know by the end of this short session. And I really want to stress the length of it, because I want this to be sort of bite-sized bits of information that you can watch over and over again real quick, just get a few tips and really put that stuff into action. So things are a little bit different with the layout. I've turned off the webcam. There's no music. There's no follower notifications or anything like that. That's so I avoid the Twitch auto muting, and I can easily lift this and turn it into videos that I'll put up on YouTube after that, so that way you can reference it over and over and over again. I do, however, still have the chat up on my other monitor, so if there are any questions, I can try my best to answer them, so we can sort of integrate a Q&A into this setup. We'll see how it goes this first time around. I do have a rough layout, so I don't just completely trip over myself consistently. But anyway, first thing we're going to be looking at is Maya. And if you have never opened this before, it's just like any other modeling package. If you model in 3D Studio Max, or if that's the program that you have, a lot of the things we're going to talk about translate to that. Things like extruding, making cuts, a lot of the language, a lot of the terminology transfers over to Max. So you can take some of the knowledge that comes from this and apply it to there. However, eventually at some point I will cover Max as well, and just try and dive into these things. So you got Maya, you got a free trial, you have a student version, you got Maya MT, RM, whatever it's called, up on Steam, doing your monthly thing. However it is, you got it, you open it up, the hell are you looking at? You got your, you've got all of your preview panes here, and basically what these are, you have 4 of them, and these are just different ways of looking at your model. You have your perspective view in the upper right, you have your top, front, side. You can set whatever these are, but these are the defaults. And the only real tip that needs to be covered for this is pressing spacebar on your keyboard. Just tapping it will choose the pane that you have your mouse over. So you tap it, it'll make it full screen. You tap it, it'll make it go back. And all I gotta do is hover over whichever one I want, and that will make it go full screen or go back to normal. And these guys also contain things like the views for your camera, shading information, lighting. These are really just settings on how your model is viewed. And that's really about it. It's not super important for this, but just so when you see me jumping around from one to the other as I'm modeling things, you know what's going on. I'm just tapping the space bar to go in and out. So from there, we've got our file menu up here. That's super simple. The only thing that really needs to be noted about this stuff is pretty self-explanatory, is you can also access all your modeling tools up here as well. So there's like 3 ways to access everything in any program, and this is one of them. Most importantly, at least to me, some people use a lot of hotkeys, or they'll model using the hotbox, which is holding spacebar, and this guy comes up. We'll go over that in a bit. I myself use shelves, which I think is pretty common for Maya users. It's this guy right up here where all of your buttons are. They're shortcuts. There's surfaces and subdivisions and curves and general and rendering. It can get a little overwhelming. All you need to worry about right now is the polygons tab. And that's where your basic things are. So all this is a shortcut to a certain tool. You click it and it'll automatically do something. If I want to make a cube, I'll automatically have the ability to do that by clicking it. Let's see here. So if you don't have that, if you open it up and you go, Grump, you're lying to me, I don't have a shelf. Well, you're wrong. All you got to do is go to Display, UI Elements, and under there you're going to see a check box that says Shelf. And just check that and it'll show up. So if I uncheck that, this may be what you're looking at. Just go to Display, UI Elements, Shelf, and turn it on. And then you'll have exactly the same thing. Now your shelf by default is not going to look like this. I've added a bunch of things here on the end, and I'll go over on how to do that too, because I think that's really helpful. It's going to speed you up as a modeler. Now, I'm going to go over basics of modeling real quick. Again, we're kind of diving into Maya and how it works, but ultimately this is about 3D modeling and sort of breaking into that. So I'm going to go over box modeling and strip modeling are kind of two core types of modeling. So don't worry about how I make these. I will go over this and the finer points of the tools that I'm using. Spacebar to go out. So box modeling is just what it sounds like. You start from a box. So what you're doing is you're choosing things like you're choosing faces and you're extruding them. Not like that. There we go. And you're choosing faces, bringing them out until you get some sort of shape that you want. You're making cuts into your mesh to manipulate what the surface looks like and ultimately make your model. So that's box modeling. Pretty straightforward, right? All right, now strip modeling. Same kind of concept, but you're doing it starting from plane basically. And you are building something from nothing. Both are effective in their own ways. It's circumstantial to what you're doing, but you select an edge, you extrude, and then you extrude, move them around, and sort of define your shape. Select edges, and there you go. You can see I'm getting, let me go ahead and hide my grid here. And you can see I've got these shapes that I've built now. One is a complete airtight model from modeling from a cube, and one is a model from a strip. You can make this into an airtight model by simply continuing your strip modeling all the way around. If I wanted to go all this way, I'm not going to go through welding it and all that stuff. I don't really need to do that for you guys right now because I'm just showing you. But you can see if I connect all this stuff, I can close up the model and turn it into something that looks like this. So that's box modeling and strip modeling. Pretty easy. So hang in there with me because now we're going to backpedal and I'm just going to show you how to make a cube. So if you go to your shelf and you go to the polygons tab, remember up here, this is where this stuff hides. So this is how you're going to make your primitives. You can also make sphere, cylinder, whatever. And we're going to choose cube. So you're going to get this mouse cursor that looks like a little box with an arrow coming out of it and a plus sign. That's showing that you can make something. So there's a couple ways that you can do this. You can either just left click and drag, and you're going to get the base size of the cube, and then let up, and now you're going to get a box with an up arrow. And that means you've created the bottom, now you're going to drag up or down and decide whatever size you're going to make this cube. And that's it. Now you have your cube made. The other way is you do the exact same thing, but you hold Control and Shift together. And you'll just make a perfect cube. And you can make that whatever size that you want. There are a few other things, like if you're holding Control, you're just creating from the center, that sort of stuff. But again, the main thing is Control Shift together, make a perfect cube, or you click and drag out, have the base, click and drag up or down, and you have your cube. And that's all there is to that. So now that you've made your cube, you're probably going to want to move it around, you're going to want to manipulate it, you're going to want to do all sorts of crazy stuff. So on the left side of your UI here, there's a select tool, a lasso select tool, whatever this is, paint select tool, I don't use it. Move tool, rotate tool, scale tool. So you can click these buttons and do all that awesomeness. That's a little slow though. What is common and most modelers do is W, E, and R on your keyboard. So W is move. That's going to change your gizmo. This little guy. This is a gizmo. It's a deal. It's going to change it to movement, and you can choose whatever axis you want to move it on by the arrows. You can choose the center box and move it around. And I believe this only came in Maya 2015. It's not in 2014. Are these extra little boxes here in the corners that will constrict to just 2 axes. And now I can just move on this one, or I can move on this one, and I'm not manipulating any of the others. You can see I'm only going back and I'm only going up and down. I can't go side to side. And that's actually a really helpful tool. So again, W, E, and R. We'll switch in between those. Obviously your scale tool, the manipulators are pretty much the same. You can scale on just 2 axes, or all of them, or 1. Again, pretty easy. Rotate, same sort of thing. You've got your color coding to show I'm rotating just on that axis, this one, or if I click in the middle, I can just rotate wherever I want. A little messy, but you might need to use it for something. So now that we've learned to move and rotate and all that awesome stuff, we're going to actually start breaking down how to model from this guy. We're going to cover box modeling simply because the tools for extruding, cutting, all that stuff can be applied to strip modeling. There's no difference after that. It's just a method of modeling that either you feel comfortable with, or maybe you use strip for one type of prop that you're making or character, and you want to use box for something else. So again, these things are interchangeable, and you can do whatever you want. I need a sip of water so I don't get my white corner of the mouth stuff that old people get. Alright, so if we're going to extrude, there's a couple ways we can do it. The normal way, let's see if we choose face. It's normal. But one way is you hold right click and you can choose face. What that does is that lets you change what part of your cube you actually select. I'll go over this real quick just because it's how you manipulate the model after you've made like a sphere or a cube or a plane or whatever. So hold right mouse and you can choose vertex. That'll let you choose just a single vertex, and you can move that, manipulate it however you want. Face, that's the other option. So we're going to use face. I have right clicked, choose face. I choose the face that I want. I'm going to extrude this guy. So here's one way to do it. You can hold spacebar. That brings up your hotbox, is what this is called. And you can go to Edit Mesh. 2014 doesn't have it broken down between edge, vertex, and face, but 2015 does. So you want to choose Extrude. And now your gizmo changes here. You can see, or manipulator, or whatever you want to call it. You can see now I've got these options here. I can pull this arrow and extrude. I don't really want to go inward because that's going to create a lot of, you can see I've got this weird black Z fighting weirdness going on. Z fighting is when geos on top of each other and you can see that flickering that's going on. So I really just want to go out. And that's all I have to do. That's one way to extrude. The other way is to use a button on your shelf. So if I look up on my shelf, there's no extrude button for me. I don't remember if it's a default, but I got rid of it just so I could show you guys this little bit. So I want to extrude, and I want to keep doing that. I want it as a option on my shelf so it goes much faster. I know I'm going to be using it a lot. So if I select a face, hold spacebar, and then click and hold Edit Mesh, and you can let go of spacebar. Now it'll stay up. And what you want to do is hover over Extrude and hold Control and Shift together, and then let up on Extrude. And that's it. Now you can see I've added a new button here. A new button has popped up, and that is the extrude command. And you can do that for any command in the hotbox. So if I want to, again, just to go over this, hold spacebar to bring up my hotbox, edit mesh, say I want, what else? For some reason, okay, I want bridge. I want to be able to bridge polys consistently, just constantly do that. It's part of my workflow. I want to do it a lot. So now that it's up, I hold Control and Shift, hover over the thing that I want with left mouse button down, let go, and it now added that option. Again, you can, once you select a menu and you hold left mouse button, it stays up. You can let go of spacebar. So that's all you got to do to add one to your add a button to your bar here. So let me go ahead and delete that. So if I want to extrude again, I just click my button now that I've created, and you can see I've got the exact same thing here. So I can keep doing that if I want to keep using the extrude command. It can get pretty fast. Now the other thing that you can add on top of this, and this is something that applies throughout Maya, is the G key. Just pressing plain old G on your keyboard. All you gotta do is if you're done, you're moving around, you press the G key, select a face, press the G key. That repeats the last action. So I have an extrude. So I'm building a model and I'm extruding a lot. I can simply select a face, G key, next face, press G, next face, press G. And now you can see this starts to get really fast because I'm not holding spacebar to choose extrude. I'm not going up to my shelf to choose extrude. I'm simply repeating the last command. Now obviously if I've gone and done something else, if I've gone and whoop, what have I done? There we go. If I've gone and made some cuts here, we'll get into this tool also, and then I press the G key, I'm going to be cutting because that was my last command. So then I will have to go back and use my button. That's where adding the hotkey matters, because that'll speed up going to a new tool. Awesome. So now that we've made some of this basic stuff here, this beautiful model that we've created, we're going to cut. Now the way we do that is, again, you can go up to your shelf, and I actually use the old split tool, cut tool, whatever you want to call it. I think it's called Cut in Max. But anyway, I use the old one simply because the interactive split tool was super jank a couple years ago, and I switched back to the old one, and it's up in my bar, and I've been using that ever since. That's just how it works. So I can go up into my my shelf here, and I can choose the cut tool, split tool, and all you do is click on a line. I'll go back and do that. You can change the settings for it. If you double click it, the tool settings come up, and you can change the way it behaves. Snap points along edge, things like that, but let's not worry about that right now. We don't want to get too technical. We just want to cut this thing. So if you click an edge, a little point's going to show up, and you can drag it along the edges here. Hope you guys can see that. And you can see that the edges have become purple, and those purple edges are where I can go next. So I want to make a point in the middle of this line right here, and I want it to end here. So all I have to do is left click anywhere on here, and I can drag along just like that again. I can go all the way to the edge, and once I've finished my cut, I just right click, and that'll stop it. And if I want to make another cut, click on this edge, I can drag it around. It stops automatically at the next vertices, and you can see that again by the purple outline. It shows where you can go. So I drag it all the way over to the left. I know I'm on that vertices. This will automatically weld them, so don't worry about it too much. And now I left click again on the next place I want to go. I want to keep going around, let's say. So now I rotate around my model. Click. Click and drag again. Okay, I'm done. Right click. All right. Now, if you're sitting here going, wait a minute, how the hell do I rotate around my model? Which totally happens. Don't worry about it. All you got to do is hold Alt and then left mouse button. Those together will let you orbit around your scene. Now, if you see me panning back and forth like this, that's just Alt and middle mouse button, your mouse wheel clicking down on it. So I can pan back and forth, I can rotate around it. Now if you've gone all the way out here and you're like, oh my god, I'm rotating around nothing, Grump, what's happened? All you have to do, select your object, press F, and that'll focus on it. That sets your camera's focus to that object. And so now, doesn't matter if I have it selected or not, I've set a new focus point. If I hold Alt, rotate, I rotate around that point again, the center of that object. And if I'm way out in space, I can press A. Again, if I'm way out in space, and I'm like, oh no, I'm way out in the ocean, I don't know where anything is, press A. That's going to bring you right back to your scene. It's going to bring you to the extent of everything in your scene. So if I make this guy, duplicate it, again, don't worry about that, zoom way out, it's going to go to the extent of my scene. Everything I have modeled is going to be in that window. So zoom out again, oh my god, I'm lost, A, there you go, there's everything. So don't worry, you're always safe when you're with me. Alright, now we've got our model, we've made some sweet extrudes, we've cut, this is pretty cool. The other way you can access the cut tool to go back to it, remember we can either get it from our shelf or you can go to Mesh Tools and Multi-Cut Tool. And there's a million other places where these things are hiding, but we'll go with that one for now, why not? So again, if you want to make a shortcut for it, Mesh Tools are also in the hotbox. They're up here. They're in multiple locations. Mesh Tools, you can let go spacebar now that you're holding left mouse. Shift and Control at the same time. Multi-Cut Tool, let go. And now I have Multi-Cut up here. Cool. So, little painful, but we figured it out. All right. So the other one was actually the tool we stumbled on by accident, which is the Cut Faces tool. And that's a simple, you hold Shift and right click, there's Cut Faces tool. And now this line comes up. And what this does, this cuts a line along the projected line here through your model. So if I let go, I get this green line shows up my model. I've cut through the entire thing. You can see it follows all the way through. So that's kind of useless in perspective, but remember if I tap spacebar, I go out, I have my other views here. Let me switch these to wireframe. That's by pressing the number 4 button. Now I'm going to go to my side view. So again, just tap spacebar. I got it. I'm going to click, hold Shift, and now Shift makes it lock to axis, so that, or angles rather, so that way you can easily cut 45, easily cut straight 90, whatever. So I want to make a straight cut across and let go. So now I've made a cut going all the way across my model, and that's pretty helpful. The last tool I'm going to cover here, because we're running out of time, mostly my fault for for not being prepared with where the hell is the split tool, but that's going to be the Insert Edge Loop tool, and this is another big one that gets used all the time. So if you select your model, again, it's you can have it up here in your shelf, but if you hold Shift, right click, you'll see Insert Edge Loop tool. You can let go of that, and this same pointer comes up just like every other cut tool, and you just click on an edge and it'll create a loop. It's called an edge loop. So the reason it's called that is because you're creating a loop around your model. Now this only works if you have full quads. What that means is that you have 4-sided polygons all along in a ring around your model. This would technically be a ring, this edge right here that I have highlighted, because it's uninterrupted going all the way around. Now what is important about that is if I have a try, which means a 3-sided polygon, and let's use our cut tool, remember, click and drag, right click, you're done. So what I've actually done is ended this loop. I've just kind of killed this loop, because loops only work, again, with quads in a consistent line. So what's going to happen if I go back, insert edge loop tool, and try and insert the edge loop, it's going to do it along that same loop, but you can see it stopped where I have these tries right here? It's because technically I don't have a loop. This isn't going anywhere because again it's looking at quads. So if I edit this and turn this into a loop of quads, this is going to get weird, so hang in there with me. It should stop about here, I think, just from looking at the model real quick, because this is weird. Go around. We'll find out. But what I've done, you can see I've made a four-sided poly here, four-sided poly here, another one here, and it goes under as well. So I actually am probably going to get a really weird loop that's going to go around here, stop here, and go around the model there. So insert edge loop tool. There we go. So actually it didn't go around, but we'll find out where it stopped. Oh, here, because they would collide with each other. It has no clue what to do there. But you can see, since I turned it into four sides, it went through it. So that's the main thing to take away. We did some weird stuff to get there, but your insert edge loop tool is simply taking four-sided polys that are in a loop, shift, right click, let go, and you can enter another loop. And if I've gone out of that, remember the G key. Last thing that I did. Press G key, I can enter another one. I can keep doing it as long as I'm still in the tool for faster modeling, but if I go and inspect my model and go, I need another edge loop for some reason, G key, and I can do another edge loop. So those are the easy ways to cut in your model. We'll do a quick review just because we fumbled a bit towards the end there. But to make a cube, you can go up to your shelf, go to polygons, select your cube. You can do this for any shape. You can either left click and drag and set your size, then left click and drag again to go up or down and set the size of your cube. The other thing you can do, select your cube, you can click and then hold Control and Shift at the same time, and it'll make a perfect cube for you. So there we have it. And now, if I want to extrude, just go to Edit Mesh, Extrude. Let's hold spacebar, Edit Mesh, Extrude, or go up to the top menu, Edit Mesh, Extrude. Choose our face, Edit Mesh, Extrude. There we go. And we've extruded our model, and we can just keep doing that with the G key over and over and over again. Now if you want to insert an edge loop tool, Shift, right click, insert edge loop tool. There we go. And we can just keep doing that. And you can also go to Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop Tool. They're all under here. And let's see, what else do we cover? Movement of your object. W, E, and R are your hotkeys for movement. Spacebar, tapping that takes you in and out of your various views. Being far away, if you lose your model, pressing F is going to change your focus. If you have nothing selected, pressing A is going to bring you back to it. And let's see, we want to rotate, we want to hotbox, we want to the shelves. Your shelves, if you don't see it, display, heads up display, and then, UI elements, shelf. Display, UI elements, shelf. And then you'll be able to get your shelf up here. And you can add buttons to your shelf by simply going to whatever means you like going through the menu. I always hold spacebar to get to the hotbox. And I go to the tool that I want, and I can let go of spacebar because now I have it up, holding the left mouse button while I'm still in here. Hold Control and Shift, and then I can let up on, let's say, edge bevel. And now I have a new button up here in the corner that I can access constantly. Again, this is for stuff that if you feel like you use it in your modeling workflow all the time, you can access it pretty easily over and over and over again. So let's see. That's we went a little over. I'll probably edit some of that fumblage out at the end, but that's just the very basics of it. We'll probably dive back into Maya again on Monday at the beginning of that course. Just because there's a lot to cover in here, we'll probably do a minor recap, and then we'll go into things that are a little more complex. Soft selection, doing, how to actually model something. We'll do something real simple. But for now, that's the end of this session. So thank you for stopping by, taking a look at it. I hope it was helpful. Again, this was the first one, so it was a little rocky. We'll figure it all out. But the goal is to have, in hopefully a short period of time, because I stream 3 times a week, we'll have a library of these nice short tutorials that break down sort of the core concepts of each of these tools, the ideas of modeling, texturing, things like that. So again, thank you for stopping by. Please check out the stream, which will be happening in just a second. I'll switch over. Happens every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Keep checking back to YouTube. I'll be uploading these as they get made. So that's that.